Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're continuing with our series of moments with the Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama in this blessed month of Ramadan. And the more time that we spend with the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama, the better people we become. And so recently, I had the blessing of visiting Mecca al-Mukarramah and Medina al-Munawwara. And when I was in Mecca, I said to myself, I'm going to go visit Ta'if. It's a city that's about 1 hour outside of Mecca al-Mukarramah, and we all know historically what that city was associated with. So I got into a cabbie and I said, let's go to Ta'if. And we started driving. And the first thing that I noticed as I was driving to Ta'if were the mountains of Ta'if. Like if you've seen Lord of the Rings, I think many of you probably have, and you've seen those like mountains, those scary looking mountains. Sometimes I think it was in like movie number 2 or 3. I don't remember. But you know what I'm talking about. The mountains on the way to Ta'if, they look like that. They're towering, domineering mountains. They're just overwhelming. And even as you're driving in the car, like you're looking up like this, like, oh my gosh. And you continue driving to Ta'if, and then you see an environment very different than the environment of Makkah al-Mukarramah. It's green. It's like lush green. It's beautiful. And the weather is so pleasant. I got out of the car and I'm like, wow, there was a nice wind. And I was like, this is so nice. And then I went to the city center of Ta'if, outside of the masjid of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu ardah, who's buried there, the cousin of the Messenger of God, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. And I noticed bustling life. People were smiling, selling honey, selling candy. There's food stores. It seemed like this picturesque old Arab town, and there was happiness there. And the first thing that came to my heart as I was taking all of this in, the mountains, the lush green, the nice wind, the smiling, happy faces, is that all of that exists ultimately. Why? Because of the mercy and the forbearance of the Messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Sayyidah Aisha, our mother, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, have you ever experienced a day more difficult on you than what you experienced in Uhud, where his uncle was martyred and so many of his companions? And he says, yes, there was one day, the day of Aqaba, the day of Ta'if, where the Prophet ﷺ went there to bring people to the beauty of the experience of the divine, and their response was to pelt him and attack him and chase after him to the extent that his noble body, ﷺ, bled. And actually, when I was there in Ta'if, I was in the city center to the place that the Prophet ﷺ sought refuge was 2.2 kilometers. I mean, in a car, it felt far. So can you imagine on foot and people chasing after the Messenger of God, ﷺ, the whole city turned against him. There wasn't one single person there that said, like, what are you doing? Stop. I mean, the scene is a horrific scene. And you and I, as we think about it and we talk about it emotionally, it's damaging to us. We're like, oh, if I was just there to defend you, O Messenger of God, ﷺ. And so experiencing all of that pain, experiencing all of that agony, experiencing all of that difficulty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to him an angel, and he comes with Sayyidina Jibreel. And the angel says that I was sent to you by Allah, and I'm just waiting for your order. You give the order, and all of these towering mountains will crush the people of Ta'if. And I thought about that. Like, if that choice was up to me or up to you on behalf of the Prophet, ﷺ, on behalf of our love of the Prophet, ﷺ, we would probably say yes, crush them. But the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi said no. Even though he was in pain, even though he felt the hardship of that day, it wasn't as if the emotions weren't there. They were there, but there was something that was greater than that he was feeling in his heart. And that was the mercy and the forbearance. He said, no. It may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings from them someone who believes in Allah. And so Ta'if wasn't destroyed because of the mercy of the Messenger of God, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So everything that I saw, everything I experienced, everything was still intact because of the mercy of the Prophet, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So he teaches us here a major lesson. You know, we go through difficulties in life, we go through challenges. Someone hurts us. And usually, when someone hurts us, 9 out of 10, it's someone that's close to us. Could be an argument with a husband or a wife, something with my children, something with a good friend. It's usually from someone that's in our inner circle. And we feel a lot of pain. And typically, as human beings, we want to lash out, right? I'm in pain. That means the whole world needs to be in pain. I'm not happy. I'm not going to allow anyone to be happy around me. And that's not the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't allow the pain of emotions that he was feeling to control his actions. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We didn't send you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to all universes. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us a lesson here that even when we're in pain, we have to learn to look in the future, to forgive and to forget. Now, how do we do that? Many of us may be thinking like, hey, I'm hurt. Someone hurt me and I want to let go. I can't. It's like stuck inside me. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us the spiritual remedy for that. Dua, dua, dua. The people of Ta'if hurt him. He made dua for them. And so if you're feeling pain, if you're suffering from a relationship gone sour or something that has happened to you through the hands of other people in your life that you want to let go of, the way that we get it outside is by giving it to Allah, by asking Allah to forgive them, asking Allah to increase them, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate them. It's really one of the hardest things to do. We have to be brave. I mean, think about it. To make dua for someone that hurts you, first of all, we're probably thinking to ourselves, they don't deserve my dua. And then what ends up happening is they live rent-free within our hearts and our minds for the rest of our lives. We become captive to them. And I don't want that for myself, nor do I want that for you. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us how to get that out by making dua for the people that hurt us. Keep doing it every day, every salah, nonstop. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his divine mercy, when we do that, he'll remove that thing that's lodged inside of our hearts and minds from us. And then we'll be able to live a peaceful, more beautiful Muhammadan life.